Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a Fast Property Partners franchisee? Well, today I'm joined by Audie Waterman, who's going to share his story of joining with us just 5 months ago and where he is today. In that time, he has achieved incredible results. He has flipped a property, made £15,000 profit just within 5 months, and also added 4 properties to his property portfolio, giving him passive income every single month. Even if you achieved half of that, it would be a fantastic return on your investment. Let's hear what Audie has to say about us in detail.
I guess I've been a business analyst for quite a while and I'm working on projects in financial services industry. So I've spent 2 decades in that arena, and I've been looking since 10 years ago, around that sort of time. I've been looking at property, and I think I picked up, we talked about this previously, I picked up a Robert Kiyosaki book amongst others, but he's the one that really stands out in the property world, albeit it's American, but similar principles. And I've been quite interested since then. But I've spent a lot of time, probably like a lot of others have, looking and saying, do you know what, I can't get into property, I've got no money, I've got no time, or various other excuses that we tell ourselves. And they're not, I guess, excuses at the time, they're just reasons and life examples. So I guess to cut a long story short, my reason to kind of come into you was I had a life change, which I won't go into, but I had a life change, which gave us some extra cash, which put me in a really good position, but also freed up some of my time as well. And there was a necessity with my kind of looking forward to be able to be quite flexible with the work. Now, the IT contracting and all of that meant that I had to be absolutely at a desk 24/7, not quite, but at least 5 days a week, often long hours, often in London or whatever else. I'm based on the south coast of the UK. And I was looking at like franchise options and things like that, and yours popped up, and it really married well with the property element that I'd already been thinking about, and it opened that channel that said, I could get into property with no money down. I only need time, and I had time, but I also had money as well. So I kind of mix, I think a bit of both of yours, which you say is deal taking and deal making. And you could do them separately, but I think it was in quite a fortunate position, although not really fortunate, but fortunate enough in terms of money and time. To leverage both of those sides. So I guess that's where I'm at. In terms of the work I was doing, it was business analysis. So I've spent the last 20 years finding solutions for big companies and getting fairly well paid for it. But what I'm finding with this is there's an affinity that I bring across that says, I've just got problems now that are people problems and vendor problems, and, I need to sell a house. And when I've got problems that, the market's moving too slow for me, or whatever other problem. I mean, there's a myriad of them, as you'll know. Every person is different and every property is different. And it's just massively exciting, and it adds more than I ever would have got from that business analysis. But it gives me the flexibility to actually make money from that as well. Based on what I can do in a deal making market, I guess.
Yeah. And you had no previous property experience or no properties before you came on with us?
No rental properties. I mean, I've owned my own properties. I mean, I think the first one I actually purchased for myself I was 18. So I actually got onto the ladder pretty quickly, and then come out and went into the rental market as I moved around a bit, from Hertfordshire, where I grew up, and then I moved down to Sussex. So yeah, I only really my own properties. I own this property at the moment I'm in. It has a mortgage, I have a bit of equity and that sort of stuff, but no experience outside of that. Although I'm also a prolific reader, so I do
about that. Some of the books and whatnot. Good. And how long have you been with us now, roughly?
So I joined in February, so I think it was towards the middle of February, around 15th, I think. It probably was the 15th. My memory kind of does that to me. I just pick things out, but it definitely was February. I think it was the 15th of February. So I'm just over 5 months in now.
Yeah. And since joining us, do you feel, what experience have you had with the, your return on, do you feel you've had a return on your initial investment?
Yeah, I'm going to answer this in a few ways, actually, David. So I think we spoke about this a little bit before when I joined as well. Uh, and it's an odd thing to say, but I think the fee that you charge, so for me, I kind of value that more than money anyways, because it's the lesson. And if I don't get the lesson from you, I end up trying to get the lesson from investing my money and making mistakes. So what I get from you and your team is I leverage those mistakes you've made, and I hopefully don't make the same ones, or if I do, they're lessen the impact. And so that's the value I put on that investment straight off. But the real kind of money kind of thing, yeah, I've made a return on the investment. The first deal we did, I think I returned just under £15,000, which returned my investment and more. But yeah, I mean, I put lots of value on that because it's nice to get money back in, but I actually put more value on what you give. And it's not just the training either, right? I think the value isn't just the training, because I think anyone could go onto YouTube and have a look around and find some of that training. Certainly, we could go onto your YouTube channel, as I have, most of what you train. But it's the support, and it's the constant guidance, and it's the, oh, right, I've got this problem case, which is slightly different to, a bread and butter case. How do we deal with it? How do we do this? That's really where you add value. So, that's massive. You're not going to get that from any other training that I've seen. And certainly some of the training providers out there, they give you courses and you go and do a 2-day course or a week course, however long it is. You might pay, in some cases, actually pay less, depends on who you go to. Some cases you pay a lot more, but they typically come hands off at that point. There are a few where they will stay hands on. I've got no experience. So they're good, but it's, I think having the hands on and having that nurture all the way through setting up the business, which was valuable, because, if you don't set the business up right as a deal maker, you're getting fined heavily. And you might get shut down before you even start. And there's not a lot of people that know that. And it's kind of having that guidance. You don't usually get that from other training. I've seen other training where they're talking about doing deals and selling them on to others, and they're talking about co-sourcing and not getting regulated. And that's a wonderful thing until the regulator catches you, and then find. And it's a few £1,000s, I think, for each deal.
I mean, that's the first thing we obviously tell people to set up when they come on with us, as you know. The first thing is to make sure you're compliant if you're doing deal making, and that helps you get going from there, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, massive help. And it doesn't stop there, right? It's we talk regularly, could be weekly, and I think it was weekly. I think I've just slowed it down because of some seconds.
Well, we've kept quite small for that reason. I mean, we could go, try and get massive like some of these other companies. And I think it dilutes the service that you get, and you're not going to get that level of support that most people need, because we make our money all doing deals together, as you're aware. I think the first deal we did was together and just making sure we're all doing deals together. But tell me a bit more about perhaps some of the other deals you're working on, some of the other exciting deals you're working on at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got quite a bit going on at the moment, quite a backlog, which is, as I say, it's a nice thing to have, but equally it's I think it's kind of just going to manage some of that time a bit better, and I've had a couple of holidays, so I think I left my marketing on, which was probably a mistake, but at least I've got a backlog now in any case. So at the moment I've got a backlog of I think it's around 30-ish people I need to call, so I'm going to schedule all those calls in for tomorrow. I've got, I think, 18 offers that I'm making to people today. So there's quite a thing, and I'm expecting from the 35. I usually see around 50% maybe, dependent on kind of who those people are, where they come through on my marketing channels. But I'll end up making an offer to some that just, they're either not interested anymore, and some of those particularly will be because they've been waiting a little while for me to respond. Others, they may well not be that motivated, or they might have a property that it's just not going to sell in the market. There'll be some reason to not offer on them. But yeah, I suspect I'll get the offers. They're the in-flight, and I think that's massive. I mean, the pipeline really is the business, right? If you've not, you're not going to continue to do business. And I think you explained this again in the training very early on, which is that as soon as you get your first deal accepted, don't stop there. Don't just laser focusing onto that because, that may or may not fall through, may or may not complete, but it's not the be all and end all. You need to keep that pipeline flowing. So really valuable lesson and something that you might not do if you haven't got that kind of support from you guys. So that's kind of my in-flight stuff that hasn't yet got over. I think I've got about half a dozen, and I say I think because there are various states of them through to you guys at the moment. I think a couple of those are probably drying up, and I need to pull those back out because they've been hanging around for a bit, and I think the vendor has actually decided to go somewhere else or do whatever they need to do because of the pace.
Just on those Leicester properties, is it?
Yeah. Well, no, the Leicester properties actually. So that's interesting. So we'll go on to that. So the Leicester property was through a Facebook ad. He was a tired landlord, and I find at the moment some of the best clients are the tired landlords. They're the ones that really have quite a few properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of them around. We were talking about one that he had in Telford, which he still has. I haven't yet warmed him up to that yet because I'm still trying to wrap up the Leicester ones. So that's just two lease options of the Leicester ones, and I'm in the early stages of refurb, etc., and kind of renting those out, and I'll be doing a serviced accommodation predominantly on those, but I think one of the serviced accommodations I'm going to end up with a tenant buyout proposition. And as we discussed, the reason for dressing it as a serviced accommodation is it allows me a bit of time. Certainly, I'm not going to put it on the market yet. I'll put it in the market for tenant buyer around September. That allows me a bit of time where I might be able to make a bit of profit on the service accommodation thing and get some money coming through. But it also allows me to dress the property to make it really attractive to a tenant buyer. So that it's kind of, it helps both ways. But that's kind of where I'm at. Now,
we're supporting you obviously on that and helping you make the craft right offer, because some people are not tenant buyers but obviously gives you the opportunity, a tenant, to buy it in the future at a price you agree today, and Audie can factor in a nice spread, can't you, for a nice chunk of equity for yourself. And these are on properties that you're controlling, right, using what's known as obviously a lease option structure, which is what you trained on, which is all these different strategies in our toolbox that we can bring into play when we need to. It's not just a case of buying a property. There's many different strategies obviously we can do.
Yeah, and I will lean on you to help me with the tenant buyer lease, because it's new to me. And I've done some of that training, but it's how do we get the adverts out there and all of that sort of stuff, right. and what's ethical in terms of
exactly. Yes, win-win.
Yeah. So absolutely, we'll talk about that. But that'll come in around September, so we'll probably start talking about August. Now he has two other lease option possibility, or two other properties almost next door to the ones I've just got lease options on. They're just over the road, exactly the same sort of property, exactly the same makeup, and he bought them all at the same time. Now they have tenants in at the moment. And I think he's just trying to sort a few things out with tenants. And he tells me he should have an answer to me by the end of the week as to how quickly he can move. But they're definitely still in the pipeline. I've told him that we've got investors waiting. So Zeno and the team have been talking with regards to investors, and we've already warmed up quite a few people. So she's done nothing.
Well, Zena's actually pushing me, saying, next time you speak to Audie, can you see if he's got these deals agreed? So she has got people waiting for those, which is good. And so you've taken two of those for your portfolio, and you've got another two going through for your portfolio. So is that 4 properties for your portfolio in total, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got the 2 leaseholds, and I've got 2 buy-to-let properties. So one I actually sourced myself as I was looking around, really fitted well, a 3-bed and a terrace. And then one I purchased from one of your partners, which again is a 3-bed end of terrace. And if you put the pictures next to each other, they look like almost an identical property. Where the one I sourced was not quite as good condition, so it will need a bit more refurb.
Yeah.
In honesty, that I can pull more money off the table as well, I think.
Yes. And helping you guys navigate through these turbulent times. And I always say to you, there's no perfect time to get in property. You've got to make the best of the situation we're in. And I think, you've got to take the benefits of the situation we're in, because when there's a reduced amount of landlords or people renting properties out, rents are going up, whilst interest rates going up, sort of rents are also increasing. So it's increasing you're still going to make money. But I think people who aren't experienced in property are going to end up leaving the market, and the more experienced people are going to remain in the market, like you and I are going to continue to build our portfolio. And this is a type of market where we're going to do the best deals because there's going to be lots of people looking to sell and not as many buyers in the market.
Yeah, agreed. And it really is that support mechanism. So there's a few things I think you said there that kind of prompted me to think about a few things. So first was around the support mechanisms that you kind of support through that and the changing market. I guess turbulence is probably the best word for it right
Yeah.
now. But I think it's probably quite turbulent anyways at all times. Depends on what way you're viewing it.
It is. Yeah.
So I think the key thing about kind of the learnings that you give us on the updates is, the Monday updates once a week, that Mike leads. Well, he leads most of them actually, but not probably all.
Yeah.
Actually. That's really useful because that gives you, what's happening in the market at the moment. So it's a good touch in to say, if I've got issues, I can go and take them to there and really shout about those, which is wonderful. But it just brings a different avenue as well to some of the training. So he's really useful in terms of he has a different approach to you as well. So you can see two different views there, and that's really healthy because everyone's the same. So I think his approach is more investor based, and he's just that investor relationship, and that's what he's looking after. And I'm not saying yours isn't, but he's really focused on that. And I think he does a lot of his stuff from Rightmove based on what his investors are after and his research and things like that. They're massively different to how you look at things. But what it allows me to do is to see lots of different strategies that I can employ. So I don't then go to the vendor and say, oh, you got this problem, here you go, I'll sell you a lease option, or I'll take your property from a lease option, or I'll go below market value. You go to them and try and solve that problem. And you can't solve everyone's problems for sure, because there are people out there who want full market value or what they think is market value right now, please. And obviously that's going to work, but it allows you to kind of craft some really creative stuff and really help some people out with some problems that they have.
That's what it's about, right? Helping people and then we're honest with people. So we're in business, we want to make money, but at the same time, if we can help you, then let's do it. And we structure these fair win-win type scenarios, as you know, and as you've done and continuing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really, that's the key for me is that win-win scenarios and being ethical about it and doing the right thing on all sides. And I still don't know how unethical people can get on and do business. One, because it's unethical, but two, if a deal doesn't stack up both sides, it's falling through at some point. Because
right, there's going to be this level of animosity. Someone's just not going to want to carry on with that transaction. So you're right. It's problem solving. That's exactly what it is. It's a people business. People think it's a property business, but it's actually a people business. And property is pretty much secondary. Obviously, it's important. We're going to get the numbers right, but got to work out if we can help this person to start with.
Yeah. And I guess the useful thing about what you're doing as well, and being a partner is I mean, even this morning, I've sent you an email which you may not have read yet because it's literally about half hour or so.
I don't think I have.
No, it's fine. But I've got a vendor at the moment asking questions about references and things like that. And it's just, well, I don't have many references, but I also work with, I'm sales property, and I can lean on that. And I think, and I've heard before, is that you'll happily jump up on a call at some point if I need that, and actually then talk to the vendor if we need that. I'm not sure we do in this scenario, but I know that one, I think it was Alistair, had a similar, I've got this issue and the sticking point, can you answer some questions, and jumped on the call and helped out with that. So it's more than you ever expect, and that's the key about this. As I say, that initial investment, the value is highly treasured by me because it's I've got your lessons. That's wonderful. You've told me how to apply them in the real world, which is over and above what most people do. you're keeping me up to date with everything as time ticks on, which allows me to adjust strategies. And indeed, you're telling us, right, actually now might be a good time to do a lease options. You see a few of those come in, but in 6 months it might be the below market value or whatever. I'm not saying that's the advice you've just given me, but it's changing, and it's never always the same. It's based on the market climate. So that's really helpful. But then it's those people problems as well, which I've never come across this person who wants their references. I mean, I could give her references all down the financial services side, but
Yeah.
it's sparse on the property market side. And if that's the only thing stopping the deal, then it's a lean on you and saying, right, how can we say, we're in partnership here, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Let's carry that through, and that might help the deal. And even offering advice as well, things, if you get a sticky point, it's come to you, or support log, and within kind of 48 hours, you're coming back to me. It's usually 24 hours, and sometimes even within an hour or half hour.
Yeah.
But it's really helpful because you've got that outlet that says, I need some help. I haven't come across this before. Can you give me some advice? And you'll go and sit there and, right, here's the deal. This is the property. Yeah, try this, try that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It really, really helps. Really helps.
That's what you're investing in, that experience. And we've been there and done that. We've seen loads of these situations, spoke to hundreds of sellers over the years. And we know sometimes, I mean, we can't save every deal, but most of the time we can readjust deals, readjust our offers. And, these little golden nuggets that we come up with to help you get your deals back on track. And that's what you're investing in, right? That experience, and to make sure that the deal stays on track. So you can do this yourself. As you say, YouTube, loads of training courses, vary from free to, tens of thousands of pounds. But I think what people really value is that hand-holding, the support through the deals. What happens when the deals start to come in? How do you match up with investors? How do you do this? How do you monetize them? Because we do encourage you, actually, as you know, to keep as many of the deals as you can, because that's where the long-term wealth's generated through deal taking. Deal make great because it gets you some cash flow in, but the deal taking helps you get that recurring income every month, get paid, and build that portfolio with the capital appreciation as well.
Yeah, agreed. And that's exactly the model I'm working to as well under your tutelage. Basically, is I'm deal taking really. But a deal making allows me to spin up some cash along the ways to create more deals I can take. I'm looking in those areas and looking for properties that I would invest in. And I think that's the key, right? It's, does this stack up for me as an investor? If it does, I could probably sell it to another investor, right? And that's how we operate. So yeah, it's all of that's really useful. And I think that's really what's helped that journey for me. I'm almost out of cash in terms of deal taking. I've got 4 literally they're in infancy stages and or close to completion. So
what they're making.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's and that's fine because it's then get some deal making across the line, build up the pot again, and release it for some more. I'm going to pull some money off the table from the 2 buy to lets. Hopefully, once 6 months has passed, and or I've done some refurbs. I think one of them I'm doing a fairly deep refurb, so I might be able to get out of that in less than 6 months. And actually, I might be almost no money down that one, I think.
Just to remind you, Audie, as well, you'll be able to lean on Mike a bit for that because he's got refurb teams and builders over there as well that can help.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought about Mike actually, which is really bad. Actually, I had thought about Mike in a different area because on a slightly different area, I've got loads of equity in the house, which I know that I can borrow on from a bridge. Mike's model really helps, which is his model is essentially take a 2-bed, convert it to a 3-bed as a refurb and try and pull as much money off the table as possible. And that might help in terms of growing my portfolio there. So the capacity.
Mike, some really good strategies. And on those deal clinics we operate every week, Mike's, and as you say, we've got good opposing skill sets, me and him, and they are very different. And that's why the partners like it, I think, because you get a bit of him and you get a bit of me and the team as well with Zeno, and everybody's efforts and experience combined really sort of helps you, decide how best to move your business forward.
Yeah, agreed. So there was one other thing you said there, David, not in this conversation, but prior, which I was trying to think about, and then I lost it, which was regarding kind of, you could do this on your own. And I think I said this from the outset as well. You can absolutely take all the learning out there and do it on your own, as long as you could cherry pick the good stuff.
Yeah.
And you'd probably be there for years doing it, and you would spend money. But doing it on your own, there's another caveat to that as well, which I'm finding. So I have quite an extensive LinkedIn following of investors actually as well, property investors, because when I looked at this 10 years ago, I went on a few kind of seminar-y things, which weren't property related. They were more kind of the Anthony Robbins type, lift you up, positive kind of vibes thing. But a lot of the investors went on stuff like that. And so a lot of the network I nurtured from back 10 years ago all the way through to now were property investors. So I've still got those in my LinkedIn. I still communicate, but it's hard for me. It's actually not hard, but it's hard for one person, I think, to, get that deal, keep the pipeline going on this side, but also try and keep this side going for the investors and link up the investors with the deals, whilst I'm still kind of growing.
Yeah.
So that really is where I'm leaning on you guys as well, as you've got obviously those investors there, albeit you take a bit of a cut and do all the heavy, lifting for me, which allows me to kind of push more deals through until I become enough to look after my investors. So
job in itself, isn't it? Finding the deals, and then when you pass them to us to sell, we're selling them, we're progressing into completion, dealing with all the solicitors in between, while you can focus on just finding more deals, bringing them in. We've also got that option as well, as you've got following now on LinkedIn. When you want to, you can start sending your own deals to those investors, and we don't take any of that fee. So we like to remain flexible in that sense. But yeah, you're quite right. A lot of people lean on us to start with because we've got the investor base.
Yeah, no, but absolutely, and I know I've got that flexibility to kind of come away and do my own thing. But again, it's the management of that, and it's like at the moment for me, I'm quite happy just trying to solidify the deal making and pass that across and let you guys do some of the heavy lifting. While continue to feed. So and once I've got enough money coming in from that deal making, which is starting to kind of work out. It's kind of hire the VAs, hire a team around myself to kind of do some of that heavy lifting, so I don't have to. And utilize my time in income generating rather than non-income generating stuff, which again is what you teach, right?
Yeah. And from a long-term perspective then, Audie, what do you think, what's your goals with your property business in the future? And you mentioned hiring VAs and stuff. How do you see you spending your time? And because this business, obviously we operate it remotely, and this is one of the biggest visions for the business, making sure we're not restricted to an office location with loads of staff and it's just unprofitable, maximum margins, work from anywhere you want. What's your kind of vision for your property business?
Yeah, Alex, that's a good question. So I do actually have a quite clear vision. So my next 5 to 10 years, so it's probably not 10 years to be honest, but my 5-year goal, I have a kind of very lucid 10-year. But my 5-year goal is to be making enough money to passively support myself just from the buy-to-let lease at the top of my pyramid, which is the passive stuff, and as hands-off as possible. Realistically, will I still be doing deal making at that time? I probably will because I enjoy it, which is why you still do it. Probably.
You're helping people, you're getting the deals done, you make good money from it, and you can do it in your own time, fitting in alongside your lifestyle or whatever you choose to be doing.
Exactly, but we can be really flexible at that. But fundamentally, I think my kind of whole is I want enough passive cash at the top of my pyramid to support any passive income. So as I said, I'm in a fairly reasonable position where I'm covered in terms of money coming in for quite some time. Which is lovely, and not everyone has that benefit. But all it means for me is that I don't need to necessarily do the deal making at the bottom of that pyramid. I could just start to build at the top, or even kind of, I guess, in the profit section. So in the pyramid, I guess is kind of your real active work at the bottom where you're making money and you're earning.
Yes.
it's an employment, isn't it, or you're deal making, but you're actively having to spend your time to do that. In the middle, you got profit where you're investing in stuff. You spend a bit more time, a bit less time doing it, but it's still a bit of hands on. But you hopefully get some money out of that, and there's profit there. So that was one of the first deals we did, which was an auction flip.
Exactly. And,
You know,
and just for the benefit of people that are watching, is what we're talking about is a wealth hierarchy that we teach all the partners. And when you come on with us, everyone starts at different points of this pyramid, if you will. So at the bottom, we've got cash flow. These are typically noisy type businesses where you get your cash flow to cover your mortgage and your overheads every month. And then the next level is profit, where you take over a little bit longer to get the profit. It'll be 6 to 12 months, but you get chunks of cash. And then right at the top, you've got your asset base, which is going to serve your passive income for the rest of your life. And, you know, we help you identify where you're at, which layer you need to focus on first. For a lot of people, it's cash flow. Some people, it's profit. But as you came on to start with, it was initially the profit strategy. And I think off the first deal, as you said, you made about £50,000 off that deal. And since then, you're operating in different levels of that pyramid, because you're in a fortunate position. You've got some cash, you've got time, and we can help you build up your property businesses that way using that methodology.
Yeah, I think it's very tempting to get right to the top, right? The assets, let's get buy-to-let properties, and that's important. You do, right? Because that's going to give you your passive income. But it's very important to understand that money runs out very quickly. However much money you've got, it will run out. And you've still got to build some money, so you still working at the bottom. And some people, you know, they've got to work full time, and that's how they're building their money, and they'll take some and that'll move up until they can buy a property, which is absolutely fine. And that's just, you know, personal circumstance, and everything's right in that sense. You've just got to, I think you clearly got to know what your outcome is and why you're doing this. What is your reason for getting out of bed in the morning and doing this, regardless of your outcome is. Now I have some very clear, we've spoken about, some very clear reasons as to why I'm doing
Yes.
now the life change I won't go into, as I say, but it means I have to be flexible. It means I have to be able to just turn work off and just focus on family whims. And that's why I'm having to build my asset. So having, as if it's a chore. Well, sometimes it can be, but it's, you know, nothing's always easy, but it's...
Yeah, you're right. Everything requires a little bit of effort of work. It's certainly not get rich quick, but you can get very wealthy slowly with this business. And as you build your assets, you'll get the benefit of that. And if you want to stop work for a year or two, once you build that asset base, you could do that, right? But you can't do that, unfortunately, when you've got a job and, you know, you start and then your income stops. So this is why a lot of people join us for that reason, as you said.
Yeah, exactly, and so, but that's why I've got my backlog as well at the moment, David. So I've been to, I think, 4 countries this last month.
Was it Italy last week? Was it?
We went to Paris first. It was only a little short city break, so we went to Paris for 3 days, and then come back, and then the next week we went to Rome, which is when I spoke to you, and my phone overheated because it's 39 degrees out.
Seeing lovely backdrop scenery on the Zoom set. That was amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then a week off, we went to Amsterdam, and then a week off, and we spent 8 days in Tenerife as well. So that's it for a little while until the summer holidays. But we wanted to get some stuff in before the summer holidays, and everything was more expensive. But the important thing about is, and my point for raising that wasn't to go, oh, look at me, I'm going on holidays. I was able to continue doing work. I was able to continue talking to the solicitors remotely. I was able to continue to sign paperwork and that sort of stuff. So all of that massively useful, and it just proved to me that I could move away flexibly. And in fact, one of the phone operators I know you use, I think it's TTNC. You know, I've got the global number on that, or the
Let's
move through
wherever you like to go, can't you? Yeah,
exactly. You can push that to your VAs, which usually goes to my own PAs anyway that answer them. Again, I use the same one, I think you do. And equally, I take them to my call. But what really helped me with that is I was struggling to get connection remotely, and you get the overseas ringtone and all that. So how do people want answering my calls? Because not only is this a mobile phone that's calling me, but actually this guy's phoning obviously not from the UK, I was getting slightly less, and I was just like, do you know what? I need to solve that problem. And equally, the network coverage in some of those areas was not great. So with TTNC, what I've done is I've got the ability now to call out based on that number, so the voice over internet protocol. So it just uses my number, which is actually even better in some ways. It costs me some money to do it, but it means that people are owning my mobile phone. And I'm finding I get a little bit more trust from some people as well, because that's the number they know. You know, that's the number that they've seen on my ads. That's the number they call me from. So when I call them back from that number, they're answering the call with greater frequency and understanding who's coming through. So it just looks a bit more professional. But also overseas, I can use it because all I have to do is connect to a Wi-Fi, and it allow me to override the overseas ringtone.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah,
But absolutely could do the entire business from overseas and happening. Albeit I had a bit of a backlog, but that wasn't because I couldn't work. It's because I chose not to work in the last week.
yeah. That's it. Why not? That's what we're in this business for. It's not just about making the money, you've got to enjoy the money that you make as well. And this is a whole thing, vision for the business, remote working, do it from anywhere. You don't have the big, huge overheads that strangle businesses. And this is what sends them under, especially in turbulent times. With us, we're very lean and very, very profitable. The margins are extremely high, and we can do this from anywhere. The world of leveraging systems, software, people, and that sounds a bit bad, leveraging people, but we're sort of, we can do employ people, and we've got our own staff as well, but they're all remote. As you know, Zena and the girls, Jackie and Mike, everybody works remotely. There's no office to report to, and obviously that can have its challenges, but generally it enables us to remote freely, operate freely, and profitably as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's part of the learnings that you give as well, and you equally, giving us that back as well as like, leverage other people. And as bad as that sounds, that's just employing someone else, right?
Exactly.
Everyone's leveraged who's an employee. Anyone that's an employer is leveraged.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend my time. I can pay someone else to do it, which is providing a job. But yes, I'm leveraging their time for money. So it sounds bad, but
people we hire as well, and we've got international staff as well. So Donna from like the Philippines and working full time, and the work ethic's phenomenal, and the working in because different time zones. So technically, business is operating almost 24 hours a day, so it really helps that kind of leverage, and they love it because what we pay them is extremely high wages in their country because it goes a lot further, and that's really, really good as well.
Yeah, I've got myself a VA as well who kind of translates all the letters from the probate stuff. She gives me a lot to translate the letters. She pulls the addresses out of the legal packs essentially for the probate.
There you go. So where's she based?
She's Philippines as well. So yeah, it's a massively great work ethic. So I think you've got to do your diligence on them and give them a trial period. But this one, she turns me around in excess of 100 addresses a week, which is on the upside of more than I can handle. It's plenty, and that's why my pipeline really kind of flows as well in that area, and so really useful. She's not doing probate actually; someone else is doing probate. She's doing the unsold auction lots. Taking the legal work. I've got a local letter writer for my probate stuff.
Yeah. And you're just a really good example of someone who's just come on, you followed the system, you've just gone out, followed exactly what you actually. It's not particularly difficult. Because if you're working at something in a job, you might as well be working at something and getting paid quite well for it. And you obviously start to reap the rewards. The future looks extremely bright for you. What advice would you give to somebody who's kind of thinking of coming on but a little bit reluctant? Because obviously a lot of people say it's a lot of money to invest. I mean, what advice would you kind of finalize and summarize for somebody looking to come on?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because everyone has a different kind of viewpoint. So, as I say, from my perspective, the money, even if I was borrowing that money on a credit card, which I don't suggest do, but I know people that have, and actually it's turned out really well. But I probably could point out a few that I know have, and it's turned out really badly for as well. But if I didn't have the money, which I did, it's still an investment in myself, and that's the knowledge that I'll be getting, and that's what I value. So you got to think about that. What are you getting from this? And you're not only getting the training, which you could do somewhere else, right? You could go onto YouTube, but you're getting the support, you're getting the whole network, you're getting the daily advice. I've not tried it, David, and I'm sure if I did daily kind of call you and try it, you probably at some point tell me, look, you've got to limit it to this. But I've never had a problem with kind of your support. It's been absolute there when I need it, and it's, you know, even if it's a couple of hours behind, kind of as you respond to emails, it's always there within that time, and it's a wonderful use. And the other thing is you know the exposure to Mike, for example, and understanding those two different viewpoints, and it's not just Mike either. On those calls, it's listening to the other partners and their experiences and what they're getting involved in at the time. So you're getting quite a few different viewpoints, plus the whole archive of all of these videos, right?
Yeah,
That's go back to, I don't know how far. I'm sure I've gone back that far, to be honest.
there's a lot of new content coming out. We're adapting new strategies all the time, like the back-to-back leasing, and you know, we're evolving, and you get the real-time benefit of this because we've tested it already, and then you're implementing it and learning from our mistakes, and this is all the latest kind of stuff that's coming out.
But the learning from the mistakes is worth its weight in gold. So from my experience, I mean, the story of, you know, I made 15 grand within, I think it was 6 weeks. It was around that sort of time. You know, I think I was in the right place at the right time as well. So there is an element of that. I'm not suggest that all your partners will come on and just make 15 grand, because I doubt that they would. They could make more. You know, it's about the people being in the right place at the right time and with the right motivations, and you know,
Process as well. And we always set that 90-day goal. Within 90 days, obviously you've hit your target, but people will see generally revenue coming in within 90 days, and it's different. I mean, obviously franchises can take up to 10 years to get your money back in there. Obviously, we don't speak bad of anyone's business models, but ours happens to be obviously quite profitable because it got the low margins as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, there's no way. Yeah, it's just low margins. So I'll let you get away with that as well.
But I picked up on that one.
Absolutely, the low overheads. But yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. You got that 90-day guarantee, which says I'm going to get my money back, or, you know, I'm going to start seeing money coming in within those 90 days. And that's,
Yeah,
that you know, you far exceeded my expectations. And indeed, in my experience, I wouldn't have been that displeased if I hadn't got that in 90 days, if I'm honest. Because I can see the progression, I can see how it's headed, and I can see you've given me the tools to get there. So that's where we're at. But yeah, you offer that, and you delivered. You far exceeded my experience and my expectations. So I guess anyone that's kind of sitting on the fence, I mean, it's kind of, you know, from your own perspective, you've got to ask yourself, if you're sitting on that fence, why are you? Now, I sat on the fence for 10 years. If I'd have come off that fence earlier, I'd probably be, you know, I'd probably be retired at this point already. You'll lose, I don't know. But
well, it's a really good point there. That's a really good point. Yeah, the sooner you get started, the better.
I don't think there's a bad time ever to get into the market. There's a bad strategy to get into a market with, and I tell you, that's what you teach. And it's not just what you teach. Actually, I've read books and I can understand stuff around that as well. It's knowing the market, and this is what you give us. So this is where we're at, and these are the strategies that are going to work for you at this point in our experience, and that really helps. But it's not teaching one strategy. I think reading back on some of the progressive guys, not to name drop someone else, but I do read a lot.
Wow.
Back in 2007, I think it was them anyway. Back in 2007, they were picking up those no money down deals, and it was just like literally, you know, you could bridge and a mortgage on the same day, and literally put no money down.
Secondary finance, remember that? Yeah.
There were people doing that, but you know, then that turned off, and there was a whole load of people in the market with one strategy, and they only knew one strategy. That was amazing. Because it was quite,
raised a really good point there, because that's when I got a lot of traction with the other types of strategies, the creative strategies, lease options, and tenant buyers, and seller finance, vendor finance deals. And it's that pendulum when it swings, or the seesaw. You've got to be able to adapt quickly. The market changes. Otherwise, like you mentioned with that particular strategy, it no longer worked. And I remember lots of people going out of business, companies going out of business because they were just a one-trick pony. And this is why we give you the tools and the strategies to implement the right strategy at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's key for me as well. So, the partnership program is 2 years, isn't it, from memory?
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
kind of dismissed those 2 years because I don't think I would burn off to it. I'm brutally honest. That sounds kind of cliche and all of that, but for me, the value is that up-to-date knowledge and leveraging off of you guys and the wider community as well.
Yeah.
So, this is the right thing to be doing at this time because I don't want to be one of these people that get caught short. And I don't think I will be, given the knowledge you've given. It's not one strategy; it's many. It's not pitching a strategy to someone. It's not a hard sell to someone. It's you've got a problem. Let's see if we can fix it.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude on it. Now, if you're still sitting on the fence and go, well, look, I haven't got any money. If you've got time, you can still get into this deal making. Yeah, you do need a little bit of money to become regulated. It's not much. I think it's about £600-700 around that.
Right. Yeah, to comply. Yeah.
To be compliant. But you can still do a lot of learning up to that point, and then you can take some time to get to that point. But if you have got money, you haven't got time, deal taking, right, you can get and do that, or you can do a bit of both. As I say, I'm doing a bit of both, which is really helpful. If you're kind of still, questioning, should I get in? And this is what I did with you, right? And I think I think everyone should. It's like, who is David France? Who are France property consultants? What's their back book? Look at the companies. Go and have a look at companies' house. See how the company's set up. I understand that you've been going for this time. Talk to David. That was what we did right from the outset. And you one of the first things you do is let's set up a meeting. Let's have a chat. Let's see if it's working. And it's not a chat. Exactly. It's not a hard sell. And that's really why I kind of joined as well. It wasn't the hard sell that you see from some of your competitors of, join now, or, you'll lose this opportunity forever.
Yes,
Rubbish. That is.
We don't operate like that, as you know. We don't want to force people into this. You've got to see that it's right for you. And if people like yourself, go-getters, prepared to follow the system, they're the people you want to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the things you've got to ask yourself. Am I willing to put some work in? Because you will need to put some work in. It doesn't matter where you are doing the deal taking and lots of money. You still need to put a bit of work in. Probably less so in that scenario, but than the deal making, which could be a full-time job if you want to make it a full-time job. Personally, at the moment, I'm making it a part-time job. I could make it a full-time job, but actually I prefer to spend half my time with my family as well. So it's that flexibility. You're willing to put the work in. It's not a get rich quick scheme right now. Yeah, you could definitely get rich from this. Yeah, you could definitely retire from this. But you're not going to do that overnight. Property is a really quick thing, and it shouldn't be. Any program that says you can get rich quick, I mean, go ahead, do it, whatever. But I don't.
We'll try and do it. We've all tried to set the shortcuts everyone likes to make, but property's always been get rich slowly, and it compounds. And the sooner you get involved, the sooner you're going to start to compound your way up. And working with us, we just help people fast track that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing is, the due diligence on yourself and your company as well. Talk to David. Talk to anyone that's been involved in it as well. I mean, I'll be happy to chat as well to anyone regarding references or whatever, and I'll give absolutely honest opinions. And it's. I don't think I have too much negative. I probably do have a few.
You just have something, but
it probably comes around, the way I work versus the way you guys work. But then again, it's not negative. It's just it's just a learning curve, really, from my perspective, and where we come in. So yeah, I mean, for me, I guess the negative for me is you offer up on a website, right?
Yeah. And
so the website is wonderful. It's providing, so there's a nice landing page for your links and your leads and all that sort of stuff. I just like to be in control of that because I've spent years in the IT sector. So for me, it's a negative. I didn't need it, right? So I built my own off the back of it. It's
whatever works for you. It's we'll always help. And you've got that IT background. You can do some really weird and wonderful stuff with IT and certain better stuff that we can perhaps do in some of the automation. I've seen some of the stuff you can do. It's pretty amazing.
But that's the thing as well, is you don't kind of shy away from that. Now that's something to kind of think about from, do I want to join this? Yes, it's flexibility wise, you guys will mold around the building of that person's business. So you're not here saying to me, like a lot of these franchises are, that you have to operate under my banner, you have to do this. It's not, it's my business. It's in
We're flexible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone sets, as you know, everyone sets up their own companies when they come on. You're in control of your companies. And this is the other USP over other franchise, I guess. We're not expecting you to build our business, but we're expecting you to make money with us, and we'll help build your businesses up. And at the point of you wanting to go off on your own, you can do that. We're completely optional and flexible around that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's useful. So, and I think, yeah, if you're still sitting on the fence, as I say, have talked with people, and so for me, it was that chat with you, David, which was over telephone. I think it was an hour long.
I remember it really well. I remember a lot of our conversations about really well, because again, we don't work with hundreds and hundreds of people. We get to know everyone really well, and that's what we want to do. We don't want to work with hundreds of people.
No, 100%, and you don't get that as well for some of these bigger companies. I won't name drop anymore, right? But
Probably better not to mention any of the names, but
no. But a nice big company, you kind of go to that. You don't get time with the founder of that company. You typically get time with other people that they're associated with, and that's not necessarily always a bad thing, right? But it's to have you there shows that you really care, and it really is that personal touch. It's not a hard sell. You really do care. It's all about win-win situations, and it not only shines through on the deals that you're doing, the ethics that you teach for us. But it's everything you embody, and I could say that all day long. All I say is just talk to David. Really, is
and that conversation. Obviously, we get Jessica on the phone. She has a chat with people and make sure they're suitable, and then we're not wasting everybody's time. And then if they're suitable, perhaps very interested in exploring working with us, and I'll have a chat with them. And like we started off, and it can go on, these calls can go on a while, and before we make sure it's the right sort of decision, because it is a lot of money for people to invest. But if we feel we can help people like yourself, we offer them a place to come on, and that's and it's all good, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the time you took as well to really understand my situation. I mean, this is how you've taught us to kind of do the deal making that way as well, right? But it's what's your situation?
Yeah,
does it work? And it's not I want to take your money. It's nothing like that. Is this going to work for you? This did meet your goals? Are we the people to work together? And it was really that sealed it for me. It was very much I'll only work with you if it's going to work for you. And
this is why they're taking people's money. People coming on sitting doing nothing. That doesn't help us and help our investors, because we can all make money together with a lot of my network, as you know. You've done some deals with Dan, and we've got other, parts of the network where it's very hard to give everybody an in-depth kind of guide to how you can make money with us on just short sessions. But this now, you're on board. There's all these, you get to leverage off the contacts I've built over the past 15 years. I've been in property business at that, and you get to fast track, obviously I've been through all the relationships, and some of them have worked out, some of them haven't, and the ones that have stuck with me over that time, you that stand the test of time, you get to leverage off at the benefit.
Yeah, and it's leveraging those kind of joint venture type partners, which again, that's where the first profit come from.
Yeah,
it was wonderful. Dan was a wonderful guy, and we continue to talk as well, right? To see if there's anything else, and then he
absolutely, yeah.
He helps out with some of the other avenues of properties, like we were saying, was getting a lot of high value properties, which you might not necessarily be able to ship always this way. Dan's given me some guidance as to how he could take those properties on, so that gives me another arm. Every day, as you say, well, it seems like every day at the moment, there's something new in the training, or every time we speak, you're giving me a new calculator, or a little bit more advice about this is the way the market's going. Actually, the house price index is much better than what we were thinking at the moment. That actually it's looking good. This is what we were expecting, holding there, that kind of thing. And so it's just reassuring to have that nerve from you guys to kind of go, actually, yes, we're still interested. This is how we're doing it, and leading the way, and not just teaching it.
Well, that's what you invest in as well, because that guidance you need, because we all see the news, what's going on in it, and they all make out it's the end of the world, doomsday to whatever, where it's that, we're all going to politics and stuff, but and you're looking for the guidance from us, what's happening, because you turn the telly on and if you hear interest rates have gone up, you think, oh God, it must be the end of property. Well, working with us, it's far from that. In fact, it's actually, where there's negatives, there's usually a positive that comes out of something anyway. So, and we know that rents are increasing to counteract rates going up anyway. I mean, we've got to make sure that tenants can afford to pay those rents as well, which is important. And this is all down to the criteria help you, assist you in making sure you buy the right properties in the right areas, because you get the wrong ones. Again, and as you touched on, you can do this yourself. You buy the wrong property, you could actually end up losing a hell of a lot of money if you're not careful.
Yeah, definitely. And tied into something long term that you might even be able to shift.
Well, kind of become a motivated seller yourself. That's the crux of it, isn't it? So,
yeah, exactly.
Well, I've been really, really glad to join us then, and thanks for your honest sort of overview of the business, really, and really pleasure to be working with you. And long may it continue, and let's continue to do lots and lots of property deals.
Yeah, no, wonderful. Thanks ever so much for your help. It's really kind of pushed me forward. I couldn't have done this alone. I definitely wouldn't have 4 properties at this point. I definitely wouldn't have completed on a deal that's made me 15 grand.